Welcome to the Little Legs, Big Heart virtual info session. To respect the privacy of some individuals on the video, we have put their comments on slides.
Going to break down the agenda for the night. This is just so that you understand kind of the basis and the structure of it so that there's no surprises along the way. Obviously, if you've got questions or things in chat and you're not comfortable unmuting, or if you have questions and you're not comfortable unmuting, I gave the answer away there. Go ahead and use that chat down there at any point in time during which you can throw questions in the chat, and that way we can make sure that we get to those at some point, or we get those answered. So if you have any of those, let us know. So yes, the agenda for tonight is we're just briefly here to talk about what the emotional support network is, kind of where it stems from, and what our goal and what our mission is with it in order for it to really succeed and to be a value to the community. So some of the things we'll be covering are like, why the ESN, how did it come to be, who's funding it, we've already covered that part, how does it work, that's going to be really important for all of you, and then who are the coaches, that's us, sorry for my voice right there, who are the coaches, that's going to be us. We'll go over a little bit more about ourselves a little bit later, just so you have a general understanding of who we are, where we come from, and why we feel like we can be supportive in this community. And then at the end there, we'll have an open Q&A. We'd love to know what questions you have about the ESN or things we went over that you weren't quite sure what that was. We'd love to get that all sorted out for you. And then, of course, how to get involved, how to become members, and then join and utilize the emotional support network. And then with that, I'll pass it over to my good friend, Bree.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Hi, everyone. My name is Bree. I will introduce myself further in a little bit, but I'm just going to talk about why are we doing this emotional support network. And a lot of these things will probably not surprise any of you, but so much emphasis on navigating skeletal dysplasia, living with dwarfism, being a little person really seems to, focus on the physical, the surgery, the accessibility, all of the ways that we have to navigate daily life, right? And all the medical needs that can come with that too. And all of those are very essential to focus on. But what often is not spoken about is the emotional impact of living with skeletal dysplasia, or the psychological impact. So it's not just a physical matter. Living with skeletal dysplasia can come with isolation and loneliness, social challenges, whether that's at work, school, difficulty with dating, friendships, etc. There are higher rates of anxiety, depression, as well as PTSD. There's medical trauma, and this is by far a not exhaustive list, but also supporting someone with skeletal dysplasia can have emotional impact, whether you're a parent or a partner. There can also be uncertainty, isolation, loneliness. There's grief, and there's grief when living with skeletal dysplasia too, for various reasons. There's also fatigue, and a lot of these challenges apply to, again, the overall community, whether it's the person living with skeletal dysplasia or the person maybe supporting someone. So we want to also offer support to caregivers, partners, everybody who is a part of this experience, knowing that they are very much our allies. And we want to provide support for everybody. So why the emotional support network? Again, talking about mental health or emotional matters can still feel vulnerable, even in the LP community. There's such a stigma still about talking about mental health, even though hopefully it feels like in society we're talking more and more about mental health and normalizing it and why it matters. But there's still a bit of a vulnerability there. So we want to normalize talking about mental health. Many mental health professionals still do not understand the psychological and emotional aspects of living with skeletal dysplasia. So we want to provide a space where there's support from people who have lived it or who are part of the community that really get it. So that's a big reason why this exists. And also mental health care can still be very inaccessible to many people in the world, not just LPs, due to insurance challenges, cost, and just lack of specialized providers. And although this is not a substitute for therapy, we do hope that this can at least provide some support and even a gateway to getting the right support from somebody in your area, should you need that, if we are able to provide that. So that is a good reason. All these are the reasons why we are doing this, and plenty more not listed here. So next, we're going to talk a little bit about how the ESN came to be. Kristen, you and I can kind of talk about this together. I know Pam was sort of involved in the beginning, and then we roped in Jesse, and we've got someone here named Raina who's going to be a part of this with us, and Anthony. So, Kristen, I don't know if you want to talk more about like where this came from on your heart, and then I can sort of talk about the process that we went through. Oh, you're muted.
I sure am. I'll be super open. I live with achondroplasia and I've struggled with anxiety and depression my whole life. When I was younger, I struggled with therapist after therapist because no one knew and understood. And for other reasons, I was never involved in the community because I wasn't welcome. So I never got to know, multiple people who lived with skeletal dysplasia. And so there was no relating there. And since being involved in the community and realizing how much power can come from the community, but not only that, we've got licensed professionals that are on board with us. It's just so important. And I've learned and grown so much just in the last 2 years in starting Little Legs, Big Heart and getting to know these individuals, whether it's through camp or, just through our community here. It's been on my heart for a long time, and we actually had a family who the son had achondroplasia and he ended up taking his own life, and mom is 100% supportive of what we're doing. So that's really where this comes from.
Yeah, thank you, Kristen. Yeah, and I've known Kristen for a little while now. Well, like a long time, but we recently reconnected a couple of years ago. And I'm a licensed therapist. I live with pseudoachondroplasia, and I know Pam, who is here, and you'll get to know her soon. And Kristen have been talking about how do we provide more mental health support to the community. So being a therapist myself, I recognize that there are so many limits to like providing care, especially for folks out of state, even when there is virtual options. So we wanted to think about what is a model that we can create that could even be replicated by other rare conditions communities, disability organizations, where we can at least provide some sort of mental health support. And again, it's not therapy; it's more of this coaching model where we'll tell you all more about what sort of our background is and what we can support you all with. But we wanted to provide a free resource because of the cost of therapy being so high, and yeah, just sort of at least offer some, even if limited, opportunities for free emotional support, and just be there and just again get this conversation started. So you'll learn more about the model that we developed and how we met with a lawyer, we met with a lot of folks and experts to make sure that this was within our licensure bounds and ethical to the profession. That's why we're calling it coaching versus therapy. But yeah, we worked with a lot of different experts and other folks who are doing this in their communities. So we're trying to do this as ethically as possible. So we certainly will answer more questions about that shortly. Who is funding this? Kristen already spoke to this. There is a specific grant that is coming to us from a funder who believes in the power of mental health care and wanted to privately fund this initiative. So this is why we're doing this, and we're really excited and feel really honored to be able to utilize these resources for this and hoping to be a big benefit to the community. So with that, I will pass it to Pam, and she's going to talk a little bit more about how this all works.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pam, and again, you will hear a little bit more about me later on, but I do live with pseudoachondroplasia. So when we were thinking about the emotional support network, we really wanted to focus on some individualized support. So again, we mentioned this before, but whether you're living with skeletal dysplasia yourself or you are a loved one supporting someone with a skeletal dysplasia, and that can come in all ways, shapes, and forms, parent, sibling, partner, roommate, grandparents, extended family, people that you call aunts and uncles, anyone who has been part of this community in some way, shape, or form. And we are giving up to 4 free support coaching sessions with your coach of choice. And that's why we're going to give a little bit more of a background about each one of us in a few minutes. So you can really see maybe where you would fit with someone, right? But if you feel like I'd be good with really anyone, that's fine too. And you could just fill out the form and we will assign someone to you. Some topics that we have heard from people that they really want a coach for and need someone to just kind of have that little extra support is parenting a little person as an average height parent, navigating bullying and things around those kind of topics, school accommodations, whether it's K through 12 or on the college level, support through surgical procedures, whether it's for yourself or your loved one, emotional support, and having someone that really truly understands. And I think that that's something that's really important and something I didn't realize until I got to speak to people that just really understand. They really get to the granular level of some of the things that I have experienced. And it's nice to hear that other people understand. Some employment challenges, what kind of accommodations can you get at work that involve people with skeletal dysplasias? What are some of the other challenges, sitting around the table, you're the only one who looks like you around that table. Like what comes with that? Some identity issues, and many people go through different kinds of identity issues on different stages of their lives. So those are some things we can help out with. And dating and relationships. I mean, it is difficult. There's no doubt about it. But sometimes with support and understanding and finding that right community, it really does help with that as well. So we just want to also emphasize that these coaching sessions, can't say sessions tonight. Coaching sessions are not therapy, all right? It does not involve a diagnosis, mental health treatment, or ongoing care, even though all of us are mental health professionals. So we have very extensive backgrounds in therapy and counseling, but this is strictly coaching. The sessions are limited to 4 to maintain ethical and short-term coaching relationship, versus establishing a long-term therapeutic relationship. We can support you, however, in reaching out to mental health providers to continue treatment or in whatever way and form you feel you need. And we can really help find that therapist that can talk to the challenges of people with skeletal dysplasias. All right. And if a coach is licensed in your state, you may request to see them also outside of ESN for individual therapy. And, if they're within your insurance network and all of that. That really is something that's hard to navigate. And we will do our very best to help you in that area as well.
So,
Jesse. Yeah.
so I'm Anna, also known as Jessie, and just like everyone else said, you'll be hearing more about my background in a little bit. But in the meantime, I wanna explain beyond the individual support that we are going to be providing. So the ESN is also going to be holding events and groups. In addition to individual support, the ESN will be offering monthly events and support groups like today. Today was just an introduction, but in a monthly basis, we want to address different topics. The areas of topics will be parenting, accessibility, spinal stenosis, etc. And we'll be open to hearing from you any background feedback about perhaps what are your interests. Is there something that we haven't addressed yet, or that we haven't thought about as a topic that you will want to hear more? We'll be more than happy to make an event for that. The support groups will start soon. I guess it's to be announced. Will be longer term, and identifying groups specific average, such as average height parents, LP teens, LP adults without children, etc. So we all hope that you can join us on that as well.
All right, so now we're just going to do a little bit more of an introduction of each of us. So I am up first. Again, my name is Bree. My credentials are LCPC ATRBC, which means that I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor, and I'm also an art therapist. So I'm a very artistic, creative person. I was actually an artist and graphic designer prior to becoming a therapist, so it made sense to become an art therapist. But I do both art therapy and traditional psychotherapy in my practice. I live and work in Chicago, Illinois. I specialize in seeing folks in my practice who live with disability, chronic illness, rare conditions, and living with pseudoachondroplasia myself. I really recognize the unique challenges that come with skeletal dysplasia and disability overall, and have certainly navigated my own therapy journey and struggled with anxiety, depression, all the things, right? So I certainly have a pretty up close view of that and love supporting folks with similar and even different experiences within that world. So just for you all to kind of see who I might work really well with, who I feel really comfortable with. I love working with teens, adolescents, adults, especially emerging adults who are really kind of coming into adulthood. I work well with adults who don't have children. I am not a parent myself, so although I can work with parents, I certainly have a place in my heart and a certain understanding of navigating life, not being a parent and exploring adulthood in other ways. I also really enjoy working with the LGBTQ population, particularly those who are LPs, but also, of course, average height as well. LPs or anyone navigating career stress, medical, surgical stress, dating, loneliness, grief, chronic illness, and chronic pain, as well as things like body image concerns, because those are certainly things that come up a lot. So that's a little bit about me, and I'll pass it over to Pam.
Well, hello again. So again, my name is Pam Matzner. I have a master's degree in counseling, and I am a counselor and a higher ed administrator at Stony Brook University, which is in New York, and I have done that for the past 28 years. I live with pseudoachondroplasia, and I am the parent of two sons with pseudoachondroplasia. My husband is average height. Some of you may know my son, Justin. He's been an OT right now over at Paley Institute. So if you've met him, that is my son. I love working with really anyone. I have a lot of experience in all different facets of my life, but especially I really love helping students transition from high school to college. Since I have worked in a college and I work with college age students pretty much my whole professional career, I love helping them get into that adulthood, that early adulthood stage. And especially for LPs, because navigating college for anyone is difficult, but for LPs especially, there are some special things and accommodations that could be made that could help make life a little bit more easier in college. So I love talking about that. I love also very effectively work with LP parents and parents of average height children as well. Just working through surgical support, medical advocacy, having myself and both my children go through many, many surgeries. There were many days I was locking myself in bathrooms and crying, but not having that support really did make a difference for me. So if I could be there for someone else and coach them through some of those hard medical surgeries and appointments and all the things that come along with it, I would love to do that. Education advocacy is huge for me. I've done many presentations on ADA, 504, IEPs, which are all about accommodations in K through 12. And then there is college accommodations, which is usually through an accessibility support center. So helping parents, helping their children, young adults kind of navigate all of those things, I am very well versed with. So I hope I can help some of you with some of those issues.
So, I guess it's my turn again. My full name is Ana Yesenia Lainez, also often go by Jessie. Family and friends know me by Jessie, and the LP community do as well, and I really appreciate that. My background is I'm an LCSW, which is a licensed clinical social worker. I have a broad background, worked at hospital settings with in the oncology department mainly. I did the oncology department for about 2 years when I was doing my master's degree at UCLA. After that, I worked for the Department of Mental Health here in Los Angeles with children and adolescents that had DCFS as well as probation cases open, so very high level of care. Then pandemic happened, and now currently doing my private practice from home is amazing. I work from with different populations, which I'll describe my clients in a little bit. But in the meantime, many of you might already have noticed, I have dwarfism myself. I live with dystrophic dysplasia. I am a mother of a 10-month-old. He's average size, and so is my husband. What else? I'm fluent in both English and Spanish. I love working with any individual culture that is, is within my blood, my passion to help serve my Hispanic community because it's very underrepresented, especially as an LP. I have been part of the LPA ever since I was probably 17, 18, and it blew my mind how small our community was and how underrepresented we have been since the beginning and the lack of resources. So I am an advocate for making sure that we have, we can reach out as many people regardless of language and culture. I currently work with different people, but particularly I do teenagers and adults. Just because for the nature of my work, doing telehealth, I think is best if they are at age where they can actually concentrate and on a computer versus children. Even though I used to work with children, I do families as well. LPs, teenagers as well as adults, as it's always wonderful to do. And of course, individuals with chronic illnesses, not just related to dwarfism, but anything aside from that. As a medical social worker, I saw a lot of the challenges that come from the lack of resources, lack of support, information, just not being able to even have quality of care in many areas. So being able to be that advocate, that liaison between the resources and patients is key. And, I'll be more than happy to help anyone navigate that area as well.
Yeah, that's me. Hi, everybody. I'm Anthony Stevens. One of these L's is going to be dropped soon. I have well over the 4,000 hours. In Michigan, we don't call it a licensed clinical social worker. It would just be an LMSW. But essentially, I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I work as a therapist currently in the perinatal mental health world. And what that means is everything from, conceiving to 6 months. I know my voice is going to do it again. 6 months after the child is born, right? So that's what I specialize in, but I work with couples, teens, adults, parents. I work with everybody, and I wanted in this space to be a voice that could be heard. Maybe average height parents have, thoughts or concerns and are worried about being judged for the questions they ask or things of that nature. I want to be able to create a space that is, welcoming, non-judgmental, where people can ask questions and we can work through, figuring some stuff out together, whether it be, thinking about having kids to having kids as an LP or as somebody who has skeletal dysplasia, right? So I would love to absolutely work with anybody, but I also understand that lived experience does matter in this case for a lot of folks, and it is very important, right? So having no lived experience, my experience with Little Legs, Big Hearts is last year I was very fortunate and blessed to be the social worker for Camp LLB. And I got to know a lot of fantastic people in the community and just fell in love with everybody that I've met. And I really just wanted to be here to continue to be a support in any way that I can. So as a everyday therapist, utilizing tools that a coach would use, such as, I'm drawing a total blank on the word I was just about to use. Motivational interviewing. Thank you. Asking some deeper questions and getting some thought processes, and then of course my goal will always be I want to be that hand that helps you if we're in session and we see something might be a little bit deeper, might need a little bit more support or help, right? I can help you find somebody in your area that can be that support for you. So yeah, just I'm from Dearborn, Michigan. I don't know if there's any Michigan folks on here, but got my master's at Eastern Michigan University, the school down the road from University of Michigan. Go blue to those that care. And so that's me. I have 2 kids of my own, now 9 and 12, and love being a father and love everything about it and love helping other parents figure out how being a parent works for them. So that's me. And I don't know if next we wanted to go straight to Raina.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to leave your slide up, Anthony, but Raina, if you could introduce yourself.
That's okay. Hi, I'm Raina. It's nice to meet everyone. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in Florida and a licensed professional counselor in Virginia. I have an extensive history working with community mental health. So anybody that walks in the door, we accept everyone. And I also have a private practice. So within that, I do specialize in working with children, adolescents, and parents. So I do help people with anxiety, depression, trauma, grief, and loss. And I'm an average height parent of a child with achondroplasia. And so my hope is that I can be part of this network to provide any support that I can and different perspective that I can share. And I agree with Anthony, lived experience is a key part of this. So I can try to support in any way that I can. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Raina. We're hoping with all of us, we can provide at least different lived experience and perspectives of the skeletal dysplasia experience, whether it's lived experience directly or being a parent, right? Or even somebody like Anthony who does not have a direct, loved one living with skeletal dysplasia, but has been in that community and may also have a bit of like more distance from it, right? If there's a parent or someone who's new to that experience who wants a safe space to talk through it. We hope to just provide different on-ramps for you all to be a part of this. And hopefully there's somebody here that you feel comfortable speaking with. And we hope to grow this network too, with more voices and more perspectives. So this is just the core team so far. So we've talked about you all a lot. We still have a good bit of time where we're going to just get into a Q&A. So I'm going to actually just stop sharing my screen so that we can all kind of be in the same room together. But if anyone has any questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself or you can just ask in the chat. We just, want to know if there's anything we can clarify or, anything that comes to mind after we've shared more.
Sometimes the hardest part of finding community is feeling disconnected within your own community. Some of the most painful experiences with ableism I've encountered have come from within the Little People community itself. I find some communities to be so cliquey, and you don't always know who to talk to about it sometimes.
We want this to be such an inclusive community within LLBH, and that's why we started this. I hear you. I hear you, and I've been there and I felt it. I said one of the things that is one of my biggest pet peeves is marginalized populations, whichever marginalized population they are, when there is dividing within their marginalized population. We should all be uplifting each other and all supporting each other. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That I think that, definitely adding to what Pam was saying, that's one of the reasons why, at least from my perspective, why I jumped into the program as soon as I heard about the foundation, because it felt so welcoming, so genuine, so inclusive. Something that, and at least from my perspective, from all the years that I have been going to the LPA, even though as you shared, you do have a small group of friends and that I can relate to, that are still a sense of being an outsider as soon as walking into the room, and it's very disappointing. And now as a clinician, I look at it and it makes me frustrated because I want to make sure that not for myself, but for other people that come after me and the younger generations, that we don't continue seeing that divide. And so being able to be part of a group that can break those barriers and make people feel truly welcome is something is fascinating, and I'm so thankful for that.
Coming here was a big step for me. I've been heavily involved in another organization for a long time, and there can sometimes feel like there's an unspoken divide, almost a sense that you have to choose sides. But I've reached a point where I don't want other people shaping my opinions for me. I want to make up my own mind based on my own experiences. I'm learning that it's okay to think differently, to step outside the box, and to take a path that may not be the one others expect you to take. I've wanted to get involved, but I've worried about what people in the little people community might think. And honestly, that's not fair to any of you. Too often, people spend time talking about things instead of taking action. What I've seen tonight, though, has really impressed me.
My motivation behind starting Little Legs Big Heart was not to go against anything that, you know, the other organization is or is not. I basically saw unmet needs and I have an ability to meet them. And so that's my goal. We welcome all kinds of families from LPA all the time. Would love to have you to our conference. LPA families come and join us. And I just like to think of myself as an addition. You know, I'm picking up the slack of, and by I mean we, it's not it's we are picking up the slack where there's unmet need. And that's the whole idea behind it. And you know, when we say that we're open to feedback and questions, concerns, I mean that wholeheartedly. Like we're here for you guys. So the fact that you joined tonight makes my heart so big, and I'm so glad that you did.
Like, you know, we are a small community as far as being LPs, and a lot of us know each other and all of that, but there are so many people that don't know anyone from our community that you know may come through LLBH, may come through LPA, whichever way it comes through. I just feel like we just need to be there for each other, to help support each other, to help support parents, especially with new diagnoses, parents who have never been around others who may look like one of us. And it's so important so you can empower the next generation. So I'm glad that we are a team in this, that it takes a village, as they say. So, you know, everybody's welcomed. And I still go to LPA, and I know everybody, there's a lot of people here who still go to LPA, and I have my groups there. And so it's a very welcoming community here in LLBH.
What you said, but just like maybe there's a need for like more of a group around like more like disability, right? When it comes to living with dwarfism, like using a mobility aid and having more complex needs, right? Because I think I live with pseudo and I've had a scooter my whole life. And you know, like that was something that when I went to LPA, you know, and there was nothing, like, you know, it just sometimes I feel like, oh, there's a lot of people running around, and like that there's a different disability experience within that community, from mobility to medical complexity, right? And there's even, yeah, you can feel marginalized or othered, or spaces can feel inaccessible even when that's supposed to be inclusive. So, and again, this is not about, you know, necessarily LPA at all, but just, yeah, I think you're speaking to like a real need that we can focus on with like a specific support group that we want to try to do, in addition to maybe if you wanted to have some individual support.
Bree, I just want to bring up a memory that I have of you last year at the conference. And that was, we were all, everyone, it was like the final hour and everyone was on the dance floor, and you and Christopher were on your scooters and you were doing circles around all of us. You weren't just sitting there, like you were literally circling around all of us. And then I tripped and fell over Christopher's scooter. That was super fun. But it just speaks to like, you know, we don't like to see people just sitting on the sidelines unless that's truly where they want to be. And you guys jumped right in, and it was fully inclusive. And it was like, I just remember taking a step back from that moment and remembering that and really holding it in my heart.
Too, because the other big thing that I think is important here is that the medical community and having resources for all these different things because sometimes people just don't know which doctors to go to for what and stuff like that. So Little Legs is such a great resource for that. And it doesn't have to be just approved doctors for different reasons. It's truly doctors that know skeletal dysplasia, which is so important. So I just wanted to give you kudos for that, Kristen, because you're really working hard on that.
Thanks, Pam.
Other questions?
Yeah, anyone else?
Maybe we should ask the rest of the uh, people that are joining us here if they feel comfortable sharing what brought them in today, what made them decide to join us today. That could be a good way for us to see what their thoughts are.
My son born with achondroplasia, and looking at other achondroplasia look like a lot more healthier, and I kind of I shouldn't compare. My son is my son, but my son is 3 years old and he can walk, but he cannot walk long distance. So we use mobility, and no other achondroplasia use that much like a wheelchair and stuff like that. So like I just hearing her story is like it hits me myself, and also when I think about the future, he might gonna hit that route himself is which is hard for me sometimes. So I just wanted to say I kind of feel what you feel, and it was great to first hear that when um Kristen invite me, even I didn't really have a way to go. But I'm glad that I went there. I met with the doctor that my son needed, and he's still on the treatment, which is still, I think, what I heard from the doctor. He's really kind of like a rare side of inside of the achondroplasia. But all the people kind of give me compliment that, hey, you here, you met the right doctor, and you having treatment from earlier, meeting the good doctor that's the best for him. And still, it hurts my feeling that I couldn't give a birth. I'm happy he's achondroplasia, but I wish he was like didn't need to face this hard stuff a lot. Like I looking at a lot of little kids is running more kind of like active and doing something. Like I saw on at the LPA conference, the kids is like wrestling and stuff like that. It's still kind of like hard for me to see it, but I'm really glad that I went to the Little Legs Big Heart and meet the people who he taught me a lot of like a different option what I can give to my son in the future or either now. And um, I'm glad that I put myself to go over there to decide to go to the conference. But also, I want to say big thank you to Kristen and all the other Pams and um, Jennifer that who give me all the time great advice and beside of me always. That's biggest help for me and biggest support. So I just wanted to share and say thank you to all of y'all.
You're so welcome, Erica. You're always welcome here, and we're always here to help you.
Erica, and you brought up such a big thing. This is something that I think we were talking about earlier, but there's a level of grief that happens when you know, either find out your child has a skeletal dysplasia or yourself on different stages of your life. There's different kinds of grief that you go through because you grieve what it could be. And that happens with so many people with special needs children and special needs lives. But it's real and what you feel is real. And, you know, there'll be levels of it that goes on really for the rest of your life. And it's so great to have a community you can talk to about it.
I think it was for me to go to the conference, but also I know for the future it's for my son to know who to communicate who is really supporting him is important as like a mental that he knows somebody. And I think it's a great option to go LPA or either Little Legs Big Heart to find the person that you like, find a person you're comfortable, find a person who's going to support my son or either us, and also I can be supporting somebody else in the future.
And your daughters are amazing at the conference. Like they are just such beautiful little souls. So it's good that they
I
have a
know.
place to be at too.
Yes, they loved it. I got a little bit trouble at the school taking too much days, but I think it was worth it. But also, I had a one question. How is the way that I can get to the good therapist in it has to be in the States or something, isn't it? Or you can have a therapist outside of, I'm living in Texas, so like I have to find inside of the Texas because I talked with one of the therapists for my daughter the other day, and they say like, oh yeah, 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 like I understand, like that should be like hard on you, like blah 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 blah. But I don't feel like they truly understand. Like in my life, I only met like probably one little person before my son came. It's very rare to actually meet and friends or know that person that who is the little person in your life. And with talking with the therapist, I don't feel like it was kind of really getting to what she's feeling or something like that. So I want to connect with the person actually truly can talk with her level that I don't know how to explain it.
No, that makes a lot of sense, Erica. Yeah, and one thing I could say is if you want to reach out to one of us, remember it's for free. So that's something I want to say to the group, right? It's for free coaching sessions, right? But that includes if you just needed one session with us to help you connect or wanted our support to kind of find therapists in your area that specialize in, you know, chronic disorders, anything, medical fatigue, things like that, any of that, like we can help you do that. You can sign up with any of us and we'll help you. We'll sit down. We'll help you find that therapist in your area. I mean, we'll use right down to your zip code, right? Or I'm sure you could, I don't know how you'd feel about virtual, but especially if it's for the kids, right? You're probably going to want more in person. So we would be happy to find virtual, in person, whatever your needs are. We've got tools that we could utilize to help you find that person in your area, and even within those coaching sessions, to make some calls, ask some questions that might be important to you, just to make sure that we're sending the right person or the right information for that person your way.
Thank you very much.
Of course. And then, Brie, I don't know if you wanted to. I know we didn't show that last slide, but
Yeah, let me do that.
Those that might not know how to contact us or reach out to us as coaches, it's as simple as for free signing up to be a member of Little Eggs Big Hearts, and then utilizing that emotional support network page. And then through that, you'll have access to any of us. You can pick and choose. Nobody, I promise you, none of the therapists here are offended or, if we are not chosen, right? But we understand that we each have our kind of our specialties and our areas that people might prefer. So just go on there, take a little bit of a look. And if you connect with one of us and you're like, you know what, maybe it's so-and-so that might have a better experience for me here, we will soft hand you over to that person, no issues, no problems, to make sure what we want is you get what you need. That is number one, hands down, the most important thing for us here is that you're getting the information you need, the support that you need, and then anything beyond us that we feel, we might say this, we might highly recommend in our clinical, profession or our recommendations that you seek a little bit of help or support somewhere else, and then we will help you in that journey. We're not just going to throw you out there and go find yourself a therapist. Good luck. No. Utilize us. Let's work together to help you find what support you need in your area.
And we're also available to consult with therapists too. Like if that's one way that we can you can use like one of your sessions for that. Like if you're seeing a therapist or you want to work with, or you're starting to work with a therapist and you feel like, oh gosh, I'm trying to convey this, but they're not getting it. Like you can say, hey, like there's therapists out there who like specialize in disability and specifically skeletal dysplasia that you can talk to. and that we can set up a meeting with that therapist and talk about the unique situation and kind of offer some just like context and background and maybe also speak their language a little bit more to help them like translate, what might be going on. And so that's something we can also do too, which I think is really cool. But yeah, the state licensure thing is it's it's so frustrating. I hope one day in our lifetime that will change and there's more of like a national, just like you can see anybody virtually, right? But as of right now, we're trying to just stay, because we have licenses, we have to be very mindful of like not seeing someone outside of our state. But as said, like, we live in different states. Like, for instance, I'm in Illinois, Anthony's Michigan, Anna is in California, and Reina, you're um, Maryland and Florida licensed?
I'm in Maryland, but I'm licensed in Florida and Virginia.
Okay.
Confusing. It's a lot of
Right.
things.
Right. So, and Pam, you're in New York, but you don't have like a private practice. So it's a little bit different with Pam, but she's still like incredible and yeah, everyone should see Pam. But yeah, so like, but if there's more long-term support and myself and any of us do have availability and we are in your insurance network, this is something you can reach out to us about. But it would be a private we would talk through, our practice emails and such. And but that is available just because we know how rare that is. So but I know that it's limited by state. But if you want to,
yeah, but
go ahead.
Yeah, but likely, as you know, at least I would encourage you to at least, if you're open to it, to at least utilize the 4 sessions to have someone that, because at least those coaching sessions were not limited by state, so you can choose whoever you see in the panel today, and then once you are able to at least have the support, then to address the main concerns that you have, and while you transition to someone locally.
Okay.
I have found that often with other LP communities, it is often a work and play situation. How are those boundaries set with this?
Thank you for asking that. We were hoping something like that would come up. And any of us can speak to this. So we are not, HIPAA compliant, right? We're using Google Meet to meet with people. We don't have healthcare records, nothing like that. You do fill out an intake form, but you can put as little or as much as you'd want in that intake form about yourself and what you're needing support with. But everything between you and your coach is confidential. You will sign a consent form, basically that says the only limits to that confidentiality, which is just like a therapist relationship, is if there is some immediate crisis or if you or yourself are in danger. And because we are mandated reporters with our license, if we were to learn about things like elder abuse, child abuse, self harm, right? Suicidal ideation, things like that, we would still want to assess for those things. And but if we do find that people have like a really high need of support, we want to filter you to the right care level immediately. But everything, beyond that, relationships, people you talk about, right? Just like a therapeutic relationship would stay between you and your coach. I believe Kristen and Jen, just because they run the admin of LLBH, will know like who is signing up, but none of the content of the sessions will be shared. Coaches will meet monthly to talk kind of about like how things are going and what themes are coming up, but no names will be mentioned, things like that.
And rest reassured that even though you might most likely, hopefully, if you attend the conference, you will run into most of us. It's gonna be as another person attending the conference, as if we don't know anything about your story. Okay.
That's right.
I mentioned really quick that HIPAA is really important and it protects you. HIPAA doesn't protect us, right? Because if we violate it, right, that's our license at stake. And so most of us here have to adhere to a code of ethics and have to know it very well in order to practice what we practice. And that code of ethics for us is the same as HIPAA. We do not break it. We know what happens to our license if we do. And so we take confidentiality very serious. HIPAA is just that extra layer of protection for you. So again, yes, we plan to do this just like that. What we don't have is that sign on the wall that says HIPAA compliant, because we know some of our means of communication do fall under, if they were hacked or things like that, there is potential that stuff, which is why we will protect important information elsewhere.
If no one has any other questions or concerns, comments, I guess we can close this out. Bree, what do you think? And thanks so much for joining us. And again, we're all available. I'm available. Questions, concerns, comments, suggestions, whatever it may be. To access the Emotional Support Network, become a member of Little Legs Big Heart. It's free. And then when you log into your member portal, you'll see the Emotional Support Network, and the intake form and the thing to fill out is right there on that initial page.
Kristen, do you just want to mention the dates of the conference so people, if they're interested, can put the dates aside?
Our conference is it's going to be Halloween weekend. Costumes are required, not encouraged. It runs from October 29th to November 1st. And if cost is an issue, then just let me know and we'll make something work.
And we'll be there.
And the EFN team will be there.
Oh, we're looking forward to it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
To participate in one-to-one coaching or to stay on top of ESN events and upcoming groups, go to www.littlelegsbigheartfoundation.org. Become a member.